What is up, everyone? So today I'm going to be showing you how to create an array of an object and how to perform calculations on that array. So we're going to be building a small console app that calculates the total amount of profit made. Like for example, we have a shop and we have a list of items that we sold, and we want to calculate the sum of profit that we made. So first I'm going to create so this is going to be my main class, the class that has this function. The main function is going to be the main class. So I'm going to create a new Java file and then I'm going to call it item, and each item is going to have a name, private string, and it's gonna have price. So the price is a double. That's I'm gonna need an overloaded constructor. So we're gonna accept a name and a price, and we're gonna say this dot name is equals to. Now I'm assuming you know what this is. If you don't know what this is, please go to my video titled Java Object-Oriented Programming. In that video I explain what this is. So we're also going to define the price as well, and I'm gonna need getters and setters. So I'm gonna need that string. Now if a function is gonna return a string, you indicate that by saying public and then the return type, which is a string, in this case get name. So it's gonna return the name of this item here. So I'm just gonna say return name. And again, we need another getter that's going to return the price. So it's going to return a double. Again, we're going to say public double get price. I'm sorry about the noise in the background. Return price. Now the reason why we need these getters and setters, again, I explained that in the video, but I'm just gonna go through that. You see, these attributes are defined as private here. Now the private here, that means they can't be accessed anywhere else but here, from here. So if you want to get the price or the name of this particular item, you have to use a getter, which is these functions here. These functions are public. They're gonna expose the name and the price. The getters are actually exposing the attributes of an object to other classes. Yeah, I don't think we need setters, since we're going to be setting the attributes using the constructor. So I'm going to save that and I'm going to go to the intro, and let me create a couple of items here. So now I'm passing, if you look at the overloaded constructor, it's expecting a string, which is going to be the name, and also a double, which is going to be the price. So I'm passing that string here in quotation marks, and I'm also passing the price as well. The price has to be double. If it's an integer, it's going to give me an error. Should be giving me an error. I'm not sure why it's not giving me an error, but it should be, I'm not sure why it's not giving me an error, but it shouldn't allow any integer there. Again, we need another item, public item. No, let's do array. Okay, so now we have these three different objects of items, and we want to create an array that we can store these items in. So how we can do that is we can say item, and let's say items, new item, and then we have to specify the size of the array. We want to store 3 items here. Cool. So the item is the data type of the array. This is the object of this data type, and this indicates that this object has to be an array. And then we have to initialize, we have to create a copy of the item, which will be an array, and we want to reserve 3 spaces in memory for this particular array. So in other words, this object is going to carry 3 instances of item. So now we can say items. I'm not sure if we can use push here. I'm not sure, but we can say item at position 0 is going to be equals to item 1, and we can say, okay, not here, okay. Can we say push? Looks like we can't say push here. So we can say item at position 0 is going to be equals to item 1. So we have to put static here, and also static. Okay, and we'll say items 1. I'm gonna explain what this is in a bit. Cool. So what I've done here is I've said in this array at position 0, which is basically the first block of memory, I want to assign this object. And then in that same array, in the second block, which is index number 1, I want to assign the second item. And then on the third block, which is index number 2, I want to assign the third item. So now if I do something like for, so I want to loop through the names of these items, but using this array here. I'm going to say something like for int I is equals to 0 as long as I is less than items dot length. I want to increment I, and then I'm going to say system dot out dot print line. I want to print out items at position I. Dots. Remember, now we have the getters, so we want to get the name, so get name. So basically what this does is, now items has each and every object, it has these objects here. So I'm looping through this array. So I'm saying, okay, firstly, when I is 0, go to items, which is position I, which is going to be 0, so it's going to be item 1. Go to item 1, which is this object, and get name. So it's the same thing as saying item 1 dot get name. But we don't want to do this over and over again, because we would have to then say item 2 dot get name and say item 3 dot get name. So I'm just going to use a for loop. So this is the benefit of using an array of an object. So if you have multiple objects and you want to print the values of each and every object, you just have to store each object in an array and then print that, and then use a for loop to print the whichever attribute you want to print using the getters, which is this one, get name. So we're using this function to get the name of each and every item stored in this array. So I'm gonna run the program, and it should print out bread, oranges, and mixed veg. So as you can see here, it prints out bread, oranges, mixed veg. Now what we want to do is we want to calculate the total amount. So we want to get the sum of $12.99 plus $17.99 plus $22.99. Now that we have an array of the objects, it's going to be much easier to get the sum. So first of all, I'm going to define public static. It has to be double because these numbers have commas. So I'm going to define an empty variable that's going to be the sum of each and every price. So I'm just going to call that total is equals to 0. And then in this for loop, remember we have a getter for getting the price. So we're going to say total is equals to whatever total is plus items at position I. Remember, I increments every time, so I is going to be 0, and then in the next iteration is going to be 1, which is going to point to this item, and then in the next iteration I is going to be 2, which is going to point to item 3. So I'm going to say total is equals to whatever total is plus item at position I dot get price. So we're getting the price of each and every item in our array, and we adding that to the total. So if I hit run now, we should get the total price of our items. Oh god, I forgot to print it out. Sorry about that. And then I'm gonna say after the loop is finished running, I'm gonna system.out.print total. So it's gonna print out total now. Cool. So now this is the total. Now we can break this further. We can actually create a different class that is going to be responsible for calculations and let that handle the calculation, and then we can and then it will return the sum of the items. So again, this is object oriented programming, so I'm going to create a class and then I'm going to call it calculations. And then I'm going to define a function public. It's going to return a double, and it's I'm going to call it calcsum, and it's going to take an array of items. So I'm going to say items. Cool. For now, I'm gonna change that. I just want to remove the error. So what we want to do is we want to take these items, do a for loop, and add the values of, get the price of each item and add that to a total, and then return that total. So I'm going to define a total now. I'm going to say public total is equals to 0, and then I'm going to return so total has to be a double, public double total. So now we have to run a for loop, say for. Now as you can see, this isn't scripted at all. Like there's plenty of mistakes that I'm making. So it shows how a typical day of a developer is. Like you make a lot of mistakes, you correct them, you read the errors and fix your mistakes here. So I'm gonna run a for loop again. I'm gonna say int I is equals to 0, and then I'm gonna run this loop for as long as I is less than the length of the items, and then I'm gonna want to increment I for each iteration, and then I'm gonna say total is gonna be equals to whatever total is plus, I'm gonna take items at index I dot get price, and that's it. Now I have to bring in calculations here. Now if I say let me create an instance of calculations. For simplicity, let me just create it here. Calculation calc is equals to new calculations. Now remember, calculations has a function called it's called calc.calcsum, and it is expecting an array of items, which is items, so we're passing that here. So now instead of, we don't need this anymore, instead of performing the calculations here, we're going to perform the calculations in a separate class and just get the answer here. So this should work perfectly, no problems. Now if I run, I should get the same answer. Yep, same answer. So this is how you create an object of, this is how you create an array of an object, and this is how you perform calculations on that array, again using object-oriented programming. Thank you for watching this video. Please click like and subscribe, and watch out for the next video.